So how do you go about that? Well, Paul gives a positive and a negative. The positive is Ephesians chapter 6, verse 4. You do this through discipline and instruction. But then he gives the two negatives. The one negative in Colossians 3:21 was, fathers, don't provoke your children to discouragement. So that's the one negative. And then the other one was, don't provoke them to anger. Anger and discouragement. I think it's so fascinating that he chose those two words. Because think about in your own life, when you've had to submit under bad authority, a boss that he was a worthless human being. He wasn't honorable. You didn't have any respect for him. And when he's over you, he's your supervisor, and he's asking you to do things that you think are crazy. Those are the two great temptations, aren't they? You either want to get really, really angry, or you want to just check out. If this is the way it's going to be, my heart's not in this. I'm not going to engage. Those are the two most common negative responses to authority. So is it any surprise that the Lord would say, parents, as you're teaching your children to learn how to submit to authority, you need to watch out for those two culprits, anger and discouragement. Those are the two things. Whatever approach you're going to take, you're going to relate with your children in such a way, if you're not careful, that you're going to cause them to become very angry, or you're going to cause them to become very discouraged. And so watch out. The way that you accomplish your goal needs to be shaped by the fact that your children are going to be prone to anger or discouragement. Now, the word discouragement, it's not talking about a one-time act of sadness, okay? I struck out in the baseball game. I was discouraged. The word discouraged there is talking more about a long-term disposition. And we've all seen it. We've all seen it on the face of a kid who he's been let down, put down, beat down so many times that he just checks out. He just checked out. Why keep living? If this is who my mom's going to be, if this is who my dad is, this is what life is like, then life is not worth living. They lose heart. That's what the word literally means, to be so disappointed that you lose your heart. You don't have any motivation. You don't have any get up and go. So that takes time to develop, but the warning is that parents can so relate with their children that they cause that sentiment in their life, whether through their communication with them or their discipline of them or the expectations that they put on them. You can cause your child to create a spirit of discouragement in your child if you're not careful. And then the word anger, it's actually a Greek word. The word anger is the Greek word for the word wrath. It's actually used of God's wrath a lot of different times in the scripture. And again, it's not talking about a momentary burst of anger. We all know kids do that. And you're a good parent if you cause your kids to get angry, because sometimes you're just going to ask them to do things they don't want. And that's not bad parenting. Just because you took the toy away because they needed to take a bath, that doesn't make you evil. Okay, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about a more long-term settled disposition, kind of just an angry kid. And you can so relate with your children. You can disappoint them enough. You can be so domineering, so demanding, so overly passionate in your discipline that you develop a heart of anger in the life of your child. And Paul is saying that anger and discouragement both are going to undermine God's purposes in the life of your child. And so the way that you parent your children needs to factor those two things into consideration so that you avoid those things. And when you see them in your children, and you will see them, they'll surface. Sometimes it surfaces as depression. Sometimes it surfaces as just getting crazy mad for no reason whatsoever. You're like, I didn't see that coming. Where's that come from? There's a heart issue there. And parenting requires that you trace that burst of anger back towards the heart, and you begin to ask the question, how did this happen? How did you become so angry? How did you lose heart? When did this happen? One of the best books I've ever read on parenting is a book by Ted Tripp, and the name of the book is called Shepherding a Child's Heart. I would highly recommend it to anybody who likes books and parenting. And the reason I like the book so much is because it makes parenting about not just addressing bad behavior, but it makes parenting about shepherding and diagnosing the child's heart. And so when you see, discouragement or anger, it helps you ask the question, how did that monster get in the heart? How long has it been festering? How long has it been growing so that it culminated in this kind of behavior? And that's really your role as a parent. Your role is to nourish your child, to care for the soul of your child, to watch over the health of the heart of your child, and help them avoid things like discouragement and anger. Those are the two negatives.